Hi everyone, welcome to another episode about Codependent No More commented. Today a very dear friend of mine is on their birthday, so I can't do the live, but I wanted to still talk about the chapter, so thank you for clicking and watching this video. I'm gonna start with my candle and my intention of being of service for your higher self and mind and the purpose of healing. And then as I usually do, I want to start with a little bit of a story this time. It's a beautiful story, and it really made me think about what we talked last session, which was feeling the feelings. And so I kind of want to share this story with you because it's just so beautiful. So, I have a dog. You have seen her doing sounds and stuff around here. And she's a puppy and she's a little rebellious, so I don't have ways to control her all the time, and that feels a little sad. But the truth is that she gets the zoomies pretty frequently. She starts like running around the apartment. And I started to learn that disturbs my downstairs neighbors because of the sound, and I also learned that like the dog starts barking, the dog that they have, and so I try to like be better at taking my dog out when she has this play attacks and stuff, and I always felt guilty because the way that my neighbors communicate with me about this was hitting the roof. And so they would just, I don't know if like this or like this, but they would make a very strong sound to let me know that they were disturbed by my dog. So for at least 6 months, I thought that I deserved that reaction because my dog was being bad and I was being a bad parent. And so I felt really shameful, and I started to have a little bit of fear of encountering them. Like I feel scared of them, to be honest. And so I would notice that every time that they like hit the roof, I would get a little triggered, like my heart would race and like I will shake. My dog would get triggered as well. So it was hard, and I had to do changes and like not bring the puppies that came out of my puppy and things like that, just to like avoid the conflict. But one day, this Friday, I was doing a performance and the dogs start running around, and they sort of like did the thing, but this time they kept going a little bit more than usual, and I got really scared. So at some point I heard the voice of my inner guidance telling me like, this is not okay, you have to do something. And I was so scared of doing something, so all shaky, I just like literally like, I'm not Catholic anymore, but I was just like, God be with me. And I went down with my mask on, and I knocked on their door to tell them that that was intense for me. So I always sort of like thought that the person that was hitting the roof was a man, and so I had more like fear around the man, and the partner, she would be more like trying to talk to me or say hello. So I would talk to her sometimes, not much, but the guy would never like even answer my hi, So I knew that if I would go knock, he would answer, and so I was really scared, but I felt I had to do it. And so he opened the door, and I told him like, I'm so sorry to disturb you, like I'm sorry really, and I also wanted to tell you if there's another way to communicate with me, because when you do this thing I get really triggered. And I showed him how I was trembling. I mean, I didn't have to show him, he could notice that I was really triggered. And so at the beginning he was very defensive, which I totally understand, but I think at some point when he saw me so triggered, like because we were gonna shake hands and I was just like, so I guess that got him to compassion. And so he was like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do this again. I'm not gonna do this again. And so when I saw him, and if I cry, forgive me, when I saw him so compassionate and generous, I start crying, like softly, like I wouldn't be like sobbing. I start crying, and he just like melted, and I melted myself. So I told him like, yeah, no, you didn't know. It's okay, and it's alright. I'm gonna do a better job of keeping my dog more well behaved. And I told him I'm gonna take her for a walk and like discharge some energy because she was barking because she knew I left the house. And so we went outside, and I just free her and let her go and run. And I was shocked, I guess. And so I kept like crying. I sat on the grass, and I started just sobbing for many minutes. I was just, And so that is already a great story, because I know I was doing something wrong, but I now I'm able to see that I don't deserve to be treated poorly or in a way that is triggering for me. And so I was able to do something about it, But the thing is that the story doesn't end there. I was crying with the dog, and he went out to look for me. And he told me like, hey, from human to human, can I hug you? I was just so amazed by his generosity, And then he was saying to me, do you feel alone? Do you need help? Do you need anything? And I was so moved, he kept hugging me, and like, this is someone I not only don't know, but like we have a tension between us, And he was like, yeah, the world is so tough right now that we should be there for each other. If anytime you need something, we would help you. We should go with the dogs and like play. And he kept saying that he was sorry. And I was just like, this is so powerful. I felt so grateful. And I know I'm crying, but it's just a good story, man. And so I wanted to tell you this story because it's awesome, but also because it works. Recovery works. Why is it that I was able to go and tell him, hey, this is not good for me? It's because I've been working on feeling my feelings. And when I feel my feelings, so remember I was telling you that there is a lot that is stuck for us in the past, especially if we're codependent. And so in the present, we are reacting more to what is happening right now. It's like we're also reacting to that thing that is stuck in the past. So this thing of the roof is like, 2 out of 10 danger, or maybe 1 out of 10, who knows. And my reaction was 7 out of 10, or like 6 out of 10. So it's disproportionate because I have PTSD. I have these things that I haven't resolved in myself. But the work that I've been doing of containment and boundaries helped me to sort of like dial down that feeling of trigger to in a number that is like, now I can go and do something about it. Even though I was pretty triggered, I was not so overwhelmed that I couldn't talk, or so freeze that I couldn't even like do anything, And this is a miracle. This is something that just happened because I am recovering, because I am feeling my feelings, as we said last time. And so I just wanted to tell you that this works, that this effort is so meaningful, so important, and that there's a way in which I have recovered a little bit of the hope for humanity. Because, I think I have told you in other sessions that codependents, we tend to be a little bitter because we have like allowed so many shit going on, We have allowed a lot of things that we didn't know how to do better, but that we maybe, if we were different, we would say, no, that's not okay. So we have this resentment, which is exactly what she's gonna talk about in this chapter about anger. And so I just wanted to start with this because I really think this work does the thing. But yeah, I've been working on this for like 10 years, you know, so it's not easy, and that's what she says here. And I wanted to share that with you and all my tears and all, but here we are. And so the chapter 14, it's about anger. And it's such a good chapter. Like, it's funny because last session I was telling you that to feel the feelings you can use like a journal to like name the feelings. And I was telling you that when I never thought I was an angry person, or like that I had a lot of anger. I'm not an angry person, but like I have anger happening. I never thought that. But when I started looking at my journal, I was like, oh, I'm angry all the time. And that's exactly what she says here. So it's so connected. I feel like that was so good. And so let's just dig in the chapter. So this is the first thing she says. For many years, I rarely felt anger. I cried, I felt hurt, but anger? No, not for me. After I began my recovery from codependency, I wonder if I wouldn't ever not be angry again. So one of the things that happen when you start addressing your own issues is that there is some deal of sadness because you sort of like took the veil out of your eyes, and for sure anger. So remember I was telling you last session that it took me like 34 years to understand that I was really hurt by my dad's abandonment and that I was angry at him. Well, when I finally accepted that I was hurt by his absence and that his absence like affected me as a person, I got so angry at him. And I'm still angry at him. This is like 4 years ago I met him for the first time. We don't talk or anything, but I got to sit in a coffee shop and talk to him. And so I'm still angry. And it happened because I started to recover. I wanted to feel my feelings, and my feelings right now is I'm pissed to this guy, you know. And so that's what she's saying here. When you start addressing all this, you're like, how did I allow this person to treat me like this? And I'm angry at that person, and I'm angry at me because I allowed this, and like it's tough. So yes, it's tough. And this is something we're gonna have to deal with. And probably one of the reasons why we didn't want it to deal with at the beginning, because it's too intense, you know. But the good thing is that this is a process, but it happens, as I'm telling you. This is happening. And so don't get disappointed. It just takes time. I mean, if you want to be disappointed, of course. But so she says here that anger can become a large part of our lives. It can become our lives. And so this is talking about codependency, right? And she said, like, everyone is mad all the time. The family, everyone, you know. Even if we're not shouting, even if we're trying to pretend we're not angry, we are mad. So remember I was asking you if you have access to your feelings. And so sometimes I feel like for me to access to my anger is difficult. And so I have to see where it manifests because I just don't have access to it. So I invite you to do the same. And this hit me really because, you know, there's a lot of stories where you're with someone, let's say an alcoholic, or let's say an emotionally unavailable person, or let's say someone that has a mental illness or something. You're with them and they start to recover and they leave you. That is a classic, I'm telling you. And that is so like nerve-wracking because what you would think is like, I suffer so much for you. Like, we would blame, of course. I suffer so much because of you. You caused me this, and now you're abandoning me when I'm better. When you're better, you're getting better. So how dare you to leave me? And so, of course, there is a reason why this happens, which is that the person that is in recovery wants like a fresh start. And as we are starting to recover, we're angry, and we remind them of what what happened before. And so it's like it's like those things in life that are so difficult and so unfair to some extent, you know. And one thing that she says here that I really felt is like that you feel guilty because you're angry. So if you have a partner that is getting better in whatever they are struggling with, you think, she says, I should be ecstatic, I should be grateful, there's something wrong with me. Because you are not honoring your feelings, but you are thinking, I should be happy, I should be blah blah blah, and it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. So it's really tough. It's really tough. And anger is something, she says here, that is really difficult to deal with, because in our society we only have bad examples of how to deal with anger. Like, in my case, I have like explosive people that like would explode, and so it's, to me, the message is like, it's dangerous to be angry because this person is exploding, like this is not safe. So we don't have a good model to how to deal with anger, And she says here that frequently codependents and other people believe some myths about anger, and I thought this was on point because I believe almost all of them, so I'm going to read some of them. It's not okay to feel angry, is what I was telling you. Anger is a waste of time and energy. Good, nice people don't feel angry. This is a classic for me. We shouldn't feel angry when we do, too. We will lose control and go crazy if we get angry, definitely. People will go away if we get angry with them. Other people should never feel anger towards us. If others get angry with us, we must have done something wrong. And so, and she keeps going, but it's just like, yes, we have a lot of myths about anger. And so that's something it's worth it to look at, right? And something that she says is that anger could be contagious. So if someone is angry, the other person answers angry, and everyone is angry, so it's like a ball. And sometimes, she says as well, we prefer to stay angry. It helps us feel less vulnerable and more powerful. It's like a protective shield. If we are angry, we won't feel hurt or scared, at least not noticeably so. I have noticed a lot of friends that have this. They are constantly angry as a way to protect from sadness, or in my case, it's easier for me maybe to feel sometimes, not always, like sadness or fear, but some others just cover that up with anger, and so that's something difficult and intense. So good thing is, of course, we talked last session that all emotions that are stuck cause illness, and it's like stuck energy. So what do we have to do? We have to deal with that and in a responsible way. So I want to tell you the things that she offers here of how to deal with anger, and I'm going to just name that because it's really useful. So address any myths we have subscribed to about anger. Feel the emotion. So this is good because with my inner work, I have learned that emotions are something that travels through the body. So you have heard, just let the anger pass through you, and I didn't know what was that. But when I work with my helper, she sits with me when I am angry, and she's like, what do you feel in your body? And I would be like, I feel hot in here. Okay, and then what? I'm like, I have this pain here. All right, and then what? I'm like, now my neck hurts. Okay, now what? I'm like, oh, I want to vomit. All right, and then, oh, my feet are cold. And so I can see how the emotion is actually going through me. It's not like a metaphor, it's real. And so if you can do that, that's pretty cool. Just feel the emotion without acting out is what we would say, in the sense of don't go and kill anyone. Acknowledge the thoughts that accompany the feelings, pretty good. Examine the thinking that goes with the feelings. Make a responsible decision about what, if any, action we need to take. So the example I was telling you at the beginning with my neighbor, I think is I was triggered and I was angry. I was both. And the anger and the idea of taking care of myself and doing a boundary was what pulled me out of my apartment to knock on their door. And so what is appropriate, right? Because it's not it's not that you're gonna go and be violent. So I think that's important, to make an action if you can. Don't let anger control us, for sure. And so this is why mindfulness work, is because when I'm naming my anger, I know that I'm not all of it. Then she says, openly and honestly discuss our anger when it's appropriate. So remember that last session I was telling you, like, what happens if you say, instead of hitting something or someone, you say like, right now I'm very angry with you. And what happens when you like do that? And the next step is, what's interesting is, take responsibility for our anger. So we can say, I feel angry when you do this because blah blah blah, but not you made me mad. So that is what means to take responsibility, is to do I statements, no you statements. So Benjamin Fry from The Invisible Lion always says, if you're trying to do like a responsible like thing, try to speak to the other person without using you. And if you can do that, you're owning your stuff. It's not that the other person is not doing anything. It's not like it's all here, no, but how you feel, it's coming from here. And so how is it that you can do that? That's tough. I mean, seriously. Talk to people we trust, for sure, that helps always. Burn off the anger energy. So she says, like, clean the kitchen, play softball, exercise. I'm not sure this is the best way though, because even though that you're gonna burn the energy, the issue would still be there, in my opinion. But anyway, don't beat ourselves or others for feeling angry. So remember what we said last session, is that emotions are not good or bad, they just are. And so if you're angry, you're angry. You have all the right to be angry, and that's it, period. Write letters we don't intend to send. Oh my god, this one is so good. I have like a stock of letters of like that I never send, and it's good. And deal with guilt. And so don't feel guilty because you're angry. That's okay. And so when you start this work, you're gonna notice that you're angry all the time. As I was telling you, it happened to me. So be patient, is what she says. It's not, we're not perfect. We're dealing it the way we can, and it's okay. We need to be gentle with ourselves if we have been repressing loads of angry feelings, is what she says. And so, and she offers, like, if you need to like get professional help, that's okay too. So that's it. It's so rich, so beautiful. And the activity that she offers, it's very interesting on page 161. The one that I think is most useful is the point where she offers a question. How do the people in your current family situation deal with anger? So if you want to know how you respond to anger, or where you stand with anger, look at your family and see how they do it, how they did it, and they do it probably. And that would give you hints. Do you do the same? Or you have a response, and so do the opposite, you freeze, see where you stand according to how you have lived. And writing, have a notebook, she says, like, if you need an entire notebook about your anger, that's just go and buy it. And just explore your ideas around anger. That's a powerful emotion. You're gonna feel it for sure if you're recovering. So that's all, y'all. Thank you for being with me, and see you next Wednesday.